The educational system that we have today in humanity is a very heavy educational system that is not in tune with real life. It also asks of the soul, of the people, of the students, 22 years. It's not a 6-month ordeal. It's we start the school system at the age of about 6, and it goes all the way to 28 or more. If you go into the PhDs, if you follow the school system, you are in a system with moral values and life values that are against the soul's success in real life. This is not acceptable, that a school system would not make the soul into a success in real life, rather a failure in real life. The educational system is good to learn how to read, write, and develop intelligence, but not survival intelligence, which is really the most important intelligence of all, because parents especially sacrifice their lives, their money, to send their kids to school so that their kids have better lives than they had. But often the school system does not perform what is expected. We learn subjects that are life irrelevant. Algebra, advanced mathematics, trigonometry, history of the country, the geography of the country, English literature, reading about things that are kind of Walt Disney science fiction. Meanwhile, our parents are working hard to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage, to pay the food, and we are taught by the schools to look down on our own parents. When I was going to school, there was a sense that if you were not educated, you were like a peasant, which means my parents were like a peasant. Even though they worked very hard on survival, survival is very difficult. Education gives you a sense that if you succeed in the education and if you finish your school, you're going to be a success, which is not true. 70, 80, maybe even 90% of the students never, ever use what they learned in school when they get out of the school system to get into the real world, which means monetary values, power values, romantic values, sexual training and development are completely out of the school system. These are subjects that are not in the school system at all. If you're good, and I was in sciences and mathematics, and I was very good at it. And the school system rewarded me for my intellectual growth and achievement in the science and logical department of the brain. Meanwhile, my emotional department, my animal self department, which deal with pleasure, right? My physical self, which deals with power and money in the real world, I was completely ignorant about. But I was given a sense by the school system, by the college, by the university, that my intellectual prowess made me fantastic, a genius, and I should pursue that. And the more I pursued this intellectual academic arrogance, the more all my main faculties decayed, and I became an emotional cripple, I became an animal self-cripple, and I became a physical self-cripple as a result of the school system. At 21 years old, I came out of the school system a mental patient. In real life, mortgage, rent, food, money, survival, romance, sex are huge subjects. If the soul fails at these subjects, the life becomes a failure, right? Why is it that we don't learn anything about these subjects in school? What kind of education does not cover the fundamentals of life and still call itself an education? We're educated about what? Reading books. The more books that you read, the more intelligent and fantastic you are. False. It takes a balanced personality to be a success in life. It takes a good head, a good heart, a good animal self, and a good physique, a balanced soul to be a success in real life. These are not the values of the school system. Education discourages romance in the campuses. No romance, no sex, no pleasure, and no knowledge of survival, which means they're building a failure, which most people are educated bums. They come out of school educated. They know they have a large vocabulary. They've read a lot of books. They've passed a lot of exams, and they passed a lot of courses. But when you throw them into the ocean of the real world, they sink. That is a failure of the educational system, which is not grounded in real life. They're not building adults. They're building crippled adolescents for life. I mean, education does not make the soul sane. It makes the soul insane by making value of an intellectual arrogance, which is built in the school system, an emotional arrogance, which is built in the school system, an animal decay. The animal is not developed in the school system. It is stunted. It is strangled. The pleasure, the sex, the romance are forbidden. They're not encouraged because you don't have time for your homework. And of course, the homework is so important. If you miss out on your homework and your exams, then you're going to fail in life. That is absolutely not true. A lot of the greatest successes on our planet, the biggest builders on our planet, the Bill Gates, right? The Warren Buffetts, they don't depend on the school system. They depend on the knowledge in real life. They know how to build things in the real world. There are no courses on the real world in the school system. You don't know how to finance a hot dog cart coming out of the school system. You don't know how real life works. You don't know how to make a profit unless you're in the business school. But then in the business school, there are so many graphs and so much complexity around the business that it becomes itself another waste of time. You get into business firms who tell you your degree is not worth much. The educational system has to be life relevant. Every minute of every hour spent in school has to be worth something to the student. You can't study things that are not useful. Time should not be wasted in school. With 22 years, we have burnouts, we have student suicides in the university level, and we have debt. Imagine paying a debt for becoming a stupid to life, an idiot to real life, and becoming in debt at the same time. Surely people who go to school and want to be doctors and lawyers that are practical professions have a chance of success. But most other faculties, philosophy, English composition or English, most of the other faculties do not produce anything useful in real life. And usually these students quit in the middle of their progress in school and they become workers in completely other fields than they've studied. That is not fair to the student who spent decades in school. We spend decades in school. The school system has monastic values because the school was built by monks in the old times. The monasteries were a place where you learn how to read, where you learn how to write, but this was mostly the Bible. The priests and the monastic values do not like anything about power, money, romance, and sex. That is exactly the kind of values which are going on in the educational system today. We're not building adults in school. We're building perpetual children, crippled children at that.